Good morning, everybody, and thank you for attending our webinar. We're going to give people another couple minutes to show up, and then I will get started. Thank you so much. Okay. Let's see. It's 11:04, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And again, thank you everybody for attending our webinar. We really appreciate your time. And we know that you all have work to do, so I will try to give you as much information and get you out of here as soon as possible. So today we're going to talk about our shipping container management. However, I always like to point out that we do have other products, starting with the U.S. payroll. We just released version 2 of the U.S. payroll. We have AccuShip, which is an integration to WorldShip. We have a sales promotion management, which complements the discounts that are already available inside of Acumatica. We have a positive pay application, which generates a list of checks every time you run checks, whether it's payroll or AP, that you can then upload to the bank, and the bank will only pay those checks that are listed on your positive pay list. Let's see, we recently design petty cash management. I know that most people don't have petty cash, but actually government agencies seem to have a lot of petty cash. So we have an application that will manage petty cash for customers. We also have a client cash management, and that is when you have organizations whose job is to manage monies for other people, whether it is because they're incapable physically or mentally to take care of themselves and somebody else needs to manage their money, or because they're in any other way, not, for whatever reason, somebody needs to manage their funds. And then obviously the shipping container management, which is the application that we will be talking about today. So when do we need the shipping container management? We usually need the shipping container management when we're importing goods from another country, whether that's generated from a purchase order or a company that has multiple warehouses, or maybe a manufacturing plant in China or Singapore or South America, wherever they may have it, and then they want to bring in the goods into the United States. At the point that those goods touch the water or leave that country, they become an asset in the books of the U.S. company, and at that point, that's another reason why they would have to or want to manage their containers with software. If they need the status of inbound product, you know, the different dates, whether it's being held on, at a particular port, whether the goods are quarantined. I mean, there's millions of reasons. So we always want to know where our goods are. And also, and probably the biggest reason, is to be able to capture the landed costs or all the transit costs to bring in that product to the ending location. So PC Bennett has built an application that will help you with all of that, all of those processes. And usually the way it starts is we start with either inventory on hand in another country or a purchase order. And based on, these are the Acumatica assets, then based on this, we create a container order. From that container order, we can, if it's on-hand inventory, then the container order is based on a warehouse transfer. If it's a purchase order, then the container order is based on a purchase receipt. Once we perform, we tell the system which way it is, then it creates in-transit inventory. Once it's in transit, we manage that container order, and what that means is we're managing all the dates, we're managing whether it's on hold, whether it's quarantine, what's going on with the container. And then at some point, we're going to receive the container, and we're going to receive the container, and we're going to apply the landed costs. The landed costs can come in at any point in time, even after the goods have been received into your warehouse. And it would affect the average cost or the cost for that item in the warehouse where you are receiving the items. We also have the concept of master containers that would actually allow more than one container inside of a master container, and it will also allow you to distribute the landed costs throughout many containers. So the container module is inside of Acumatica, distribution, and purchase orders. And under purchase orders, you will see the container order. So it becomes a new order type. We can have a master order number, or we can have a a regular. If it's a master, you would have to check this little box here. We can specify the priority of this container. In this case, let's just say that this is a low priority. When is the date of this order? So let's just say that it was the 1st of November. The date release and receive will populate automatically based on our actions. The container ID, we can have a whole list of containers. As you can see, I'm very creative with my descriptions. But we can have a list of containers that we use, and then we pick the ones that we're using. If the container, the box itself, has a separate number, then we can specify that number here. We will have to set up multiple warehouses, or at least one, that we're going to use for our in-transit inventory. In this case, again, very creative, I called it container. Then the shipping line, so we have some options here. One is we can have the name of the company that's shipping, or we can have the name of the freight forwarder that we have contracted with to do our shipping. In this particular case, I'm going to use Van Lines, and then the vessel name. You can list all the different ships that are associated with that shipping line. Just so that you guys know, the shipping line is a vendor inside of Acumatica. And the only way in which it knows that it's a container, or that is if you check this box here. The vendor is the shipping line, and then under the locations we specify the different vessels that the container is using, and we specify that those are vessels and not just locations. Let's see. So I lost my changes because I didn't save them. Let me just go real quick. For your description, this is a text box, so you can put whatever you want. So I can say from China to Seattle. And here is the destination warehouse. So these are all my warehouses. In this case, I'm going to bring this item to my Virginia wholesale warehouse. And, well, I guess Seattle. And then container origination, is it a purchase order or is it a transfer? In this case, we're going to say it's a purchase order. You can say include only POs for disembarkment ID, so you can mark the PO for that particular embarkment. So here I'm going to say it's from China and the disembarkment is in Seattle. And we can set those up in the system. All the setup for the container management is under the purchase order configuration tab. So when do we expect the container to ship out? So let's just say the 2nd. Oh, the order date has to be, so the error I'm getting here is that the shipment date should be greater than the order date. So I need to change my order date here. And now I can say that. Should be okay now. Expected customs receipt. When do I expect to receive paperwork from customs? When do I expect to get the items? When did it actually ship? So let's say it shipped on time. Seal number. If you want this, again, these are you you can type whatever you want here and whatever you want here. Some people say, well, isn't that redundant? Yeah, it may be the case. You don't have to use them, but if you have additional numbers or additional information you need to use regarding that container, you can track it there. Shipment method, this is whatever you want it to be. These are items that I set up, ABC, but they don't mean anything. This is your field. They're attributes. You can call them whatever you want. If you have a master bill of lading, house bill of lading, if you have a default vendor reference number that you need to refer to. So we just built the order. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And once I save this, it knows that it's a purchase order, so I can either add a full PO or I can add a line from a PO. At this point, I'm going to ask if anybody has any questions. If you have any questions, if you want to put them on the chat box, then I'll go ahead and answer them before I start adding items to the container order.
There's no questions right now.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add a PO. And let's see, I think I had one here. And I created an item called item 2. I'm ordering 100. So quantity shipped is the quantity that they are telling me that has been shipped on the container. So I am going to go ahead and enter that. If I specify the weight and the volume and all that on the items, then the container will add the payload for you. Vendor reference number, if I have a number that was given to me. The unit cost. I'm going to go ahead and shrink this so we have more real estate here. The unit cost and the extended cost. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Again, if we had added, the different metrics, they would add up here. Here I can add some landed costs. So I can say, I'm going to add customs. And again, a vendor reference number. If there was a PO, vendor ID, and then the amount. So let's say it's $75. So we're adding $1 per, no, there were 100 items, right? So let's say $100. So we are adding $1 per item. Once I'm happy with the setup of my order, I'm going to take it off hold. And the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and release this. What's happening when I release that container order is that it's taking that inventory and moving it into an in-transit state. So for this particular case where I'm doing a PO, it's receiving the PO into my in-transit warehouse, which is called container. As far as the landed cost, nothing has happened yet. The landed costs are just sitting there. And I can add as many landed costs as I need to. And when I process the landed cost, then it will update the cost of my items from the $75 each to, in this case, it's going to add $1 to each one of my items because the unit cost was $75 and I order 100 and I have landed cost of $100. So it will add $1 to each one of the items. During this time, I can change any of these dates as things happen. Maybe the destination receipt is now delayed and it will be here on the 7th instead of the 6th. As you can see, the date that it was released is now showing here. That's the day that I created the container order and the day that I released it. So now, once I'm ready, one of the things that happens sometimes is that containers get held at port for whatever reason. So we can go ahead and put it on hold. And as you can see, this is now changed the status to being held and released from port. So we can always change the status. Right now we're manipulating one order, but we can also do process multiple container orders at the same time, and I will show you that screen in a few minutes. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and begin the receiving process. So when my container gets to Seattle in this case, and it's now coming into my warehouse, I can begin the receiving process, which means that now it's going to go from in-transit inventory to stock inventory into my Virginia wholesale warehouse. So when I start receiving, then I have options. Obviously, here I only have one line item, but I can say, okay, go ahead and receive everything, all my line items, because I already looked through the boxes and everything is here. Or I can say, I'm going to highlight this line and I said, okay, receive just this one line. As you can see now, it says that it received 100 of my item 2. And if I had said received all, it would check all of my line items and receive all of them. Once I have received all my line items, then I can go ahead and complete my receiving. An error. What is it? File to generate. Oh my goodness, I'm getting an error. Not really sure what's going on. So when I receive complete my receiving, then the status here. So then the next thing is to process my landed cost. I'm sorry, and the status would change to process. This order will stay open, and I can add additional landed costs, as many as I want, until I close the order. Once the order is closed, then if I get another invoice for another landed cost, I can reopen it, but I cannot process landed costs for a closed order. I apologize for the error. I'm not really sure what's going on. But we will just move on. It happens, I guess, when you're doing demos. I assure you that this is working because we have customers using it. So let's see. So the other thing that I wanted to show you is under the processing tab, we have created a container mass processing. And we use this both for processing containers, moving the container from one stage to another, but also as an inquiry screen that allows you to report and export to Excel and all those. So for example, I can say, okay, show me only those orders that are still open. And it will show me that there's only one open. We can also use the fields that are in the inquiry screen. So, okay, show me everybody that's coming from Singapore, or show me the containers that are disembarking in Seattle or LA or whatever that may be. If I have multiple in-transit warehouses, then I can say, okay, show me all the items that are in that in-transit warehouse or the destination. so on. Some of the processes that we can run for a whole set of orders are removing from hold. If you have a lot of containers that have been held in a port for whatever reason, then we can go ahead and remove them all at the same time. We can release multiple containers at the same time. We can cancel them. We can put them on hold. Remove from regular hold, not just port hold. And this is the release from port hold. We can process landed cost if we have multiple container orders that we need to do that for. We can change dates, and we can print the receiving documents. Does anybody have any questions?
No questions.
Oh, this is going to be a very quick webinar then. So in essence, I have shown you the core of the software, what it does, and how it operates. The only other thing is if we have a master order and you enter landed costs, then we can spread those landed costs through multiple container orders. Let's take a look real quick at an inventory item that I was playing with yesterday. Item 01, less. Whoops, stock item, yeah. Here we go. So you will see here that all my landed costs are showing up as adjustments. And then it shows me, well, unfortunately, everything happened on the same day because it's demo data, but it will show you how we received the container and then it went into transfer. I received it, and then it went into the wholesale warehouse, and we had 100 items, and the cost originally was $75. So let me see where my costs are. So it's 70. If I had 100, then 75,000, and so on. These are my landed costs here. So what we can look at is, based on all of this, when I look at the stock item, if I open it as separate screen, it will show me that the price is now $76.17 based on all the different landed costs that we have received for that item. Again, I'm going to open for questions.
No questions right now.
Okay. The product on a subscription basis is $4,000, and on premise it's $10,000. And we support our products at no charge at this time. And we will also help you in the sales process if necessary. And if nobody has any questions, I will be here to answer anything, but if not, then that is our shipping container product.
There's a question from Caswell. What do the receiving documents look like?
The receiving documents. Let me take a look. I need to find the Look at there it is.
Thank you, Caswell says.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
No other questions.
Okay. Well, then I appreciate you guys attending and taking a look at this software. We will put this recording on our website, so if you want to show it to somebody else, we will have it there. We appreciate your time, and let us know if you have any questions or if we can help you in any sales situation. Thank you so much.